timeline. And so in my live, talk about everything you need to know to write, publish, and promote a great book. I'm Elizabeth Ann, co-founder of Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, and I am so excited about our topic today because Joanie and I are fired up. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. Well, you can tell that Joanie is on her phone if you're watching me. She's on her phone because we were having a technical challenge. And as a result, we had to improvise or be intellectual, as Joanie calls it. Yep. Are now her cell phone and my cell phone, and thank goodness we're back up. Back up. Technology. Yes, yes. Today. I'm doing fabulous, doing fabulous. It's so funny to see myself in a picture holding a phone up and talking to you. And I know we're talking to a zillion other people out there today too. So hopefully there's not the echo and that you can hear myself and Elizabeth very clearly. So we're off and running and I'm doing great. So how about you? How are you doing? Fired up, and I want to talk about a topic that's near and dear to our heart. So I'll get a book all the healing and it's very specific of love. And we wrote that book because we know that many people are hurt by religion. What they feel gifted, or rejected, again, all of that hurts. Oppressed. And your story in particular, Joanie, having a same-sex marriage, you actually could make the church, have the church agreeable to same-sex marriage. And there was some progression under Pope Francis. However, this week there's a new Pope Leo. Yes. The media has dug up some of his comments about gay people. Oh. Enraging, and it's very backwards. And I heard on the news, there are 1.6 billion Catholics in the world. And there have been tens of thousands of people cramming Vatican Square to watch for the White Book, which meant a big Pope that was elected. And it just quickly, first American Pope ever. Yes. Pope Leo out of Chicago. Right. And while the cardinals were voting, these women did a protest and they that there's zero female leadership in the Catholic Church. Which is a topic that you and I have discussed. Many a time. We've talked about that many a time. Yes. That all our people who are watching, can you let us know that you can figure out if I'm a little concerned about our improvised tech team? So if somebody can let Joanie know, maybe Gail, are you watching? Can you let us know that you can hear us, please? That would be great. Yeah. Good suggestion. Good suggestions. Well, and the pink, I have not heard about the protests of the women and what you're talking about, but I love the idea of the pink smoke, not just for women, I like it for the LGBTQ, Oh my gosh. And I know I wrote about that in Healing Religious Hurts and probably Joyously Free also, that, I think in all religions, all denominations, all faith communities, when their faith community opens up to LGBTQ and to women, that I think the congregation grows. I think the more spiritual we can become, because then we're not being filled with hate or fear or shame or guilt. And then we can move past being hypocrites. We can move past being oppressed, and that we're all on the same equality playing field. And Elizabeth, when you pop this question or pop it this morning about writing as a protest, the first thing that came to my mind, and I got my prop right here, was a softball, is women's sports. Because I think when we share our personal stories of how we've lived through times in our life where we either had to behave or act or write about being a protest, an activist,
that's what comes true. So I think back in my high school days, man, all the boys got all the uniforms every year. Girls didn't get the new uniforms every year. We had to fundraise. We had to do so many different things. Title IX was finally a law that was enacted federally. And I think it was like in the early 70s, 71, 72. I was in high school. But I know it took years to implement that law of equality. It doesn't just happen one time. So you have to write about it, talk about it, make it into a law, and then work with the enforcement and the actual how you put this law into practice for you and me, our children, our grandchildren, our brothers, our sisters, our LGBTQ families, our church families. It takes a while to do that. And I think the frustration part for Carol and I within the Catholic Church, the Catholic religion, things took so long to make things happen, so long to make things happen. And so maybe this new Pope, and he's an Augustinian, and I've talked to my good friend Jim already this morning, and he is an Augustinian priest. And that means from a congregation called like a Jesuit, like a Vincentian. It's an Augustinian, it's a congregation. And they're known for their compassion. That's what the Augustinians are known for, are compassion. And so I have a feeling, and Jim said that he knows this person as a man. He knows this person as a fellow Augustinian. He said he is an outstanding person. So I don't know what they're going to dig up. I don't know where he is now. I don't know anything about him, but I have to trust my friend Jim to believe that this man is an outstanding person. And
That's beautiful.
It's the hope. I don't want to be doing the bullying. I don't want to be doing the hate speech because I have to believe in hope. I have to,
Right.
but at the same time, we have to stand up, Elizabeth. And this is what you are so good at. You and your shows, your books, your podcast, your everything, helping me to produce my books. This is what you stand for. And I acknowledge that in you. I throw out the accolades to you and Catherine because that's what your business does. It helps people to stand up for justice, equality, and beautifulness.
Oh, Joni, that's so beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I love how you have this ability to soften my anger because I get really mad about these topics. And our book is called Healing Religious Hurts. And I'm not going to go down the um, pessimistic tunnel right now. I'm
Mm-hmm,
going to
mm-hmm.
stay in this attitude of hope and that hopefully Pope Leo sees the importance of being as progressive or more than Pope Francis was regarding inclusion and celebration of everyone and taking the church to the next level. So, the topic today of writing as protest doesn't have to be angry, it doesn't have to be threatening and bullying, as you said. Writing as protest can be simply expressing your desires that you want to see manifest. And for me, that's for the church to open up leadership positions to women, to be priests, to be cardinals, to even be the Pope someday.
I know. I said the same thing at my presentation yesterday. Why don't we have an LGBTQ pope? How about a gay pope? How about a lesbian pope? Trans pope? What will the future bring? Because does Jesus limit love? Does
No,
Jesus limit none of that? It is
never.
abundant. It is abundant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're
Yep.
right. That is what Jesus is all about, is inclusion and love and acceptance and celebration and respect and reverence for all people. All
Absolutely.
people, without regard to any labels. We are human beings. We all have red blood and a heart that beats it. And therefore, we should all be respected and celebrated as such. So,
Right.
Joni, what are some tips for people out there who are sitting in anticipation or even worry about what the future may hold specifically for the Pope, for the country, for the world? How can they use writing as protest in a gentle manner to get results?
That is a phenomenal question. And I think it takes some introspection. So probably my first suggestion is to pray about it. And however you pray, whether that's in a song or that's in silence or that's with a group, but to pray about it, to really get into what does that mean. But I think my next couple of suggestions or tips, and we've mentioned these in Healing Religious Hurts and Joyously Free, so they're not like super brand new, but they're so simple but so personal. Tell your personal story. How does this relate to you? and I'm going to come back to that, Elizabeth. I want to talk about your beautiful rage. I want to talk about your rage. Okay. All right. And so personal stories are critical because when you can express your personal stories, what has happened to you? What was the hurt? What was the trauma? What was the joy? When you can express that personally, that's going to make a huge difference. The other thing so it's tell your story, make it personal. And then I think the next one would be is what is your real message? What do you really want to say? What do you really want to stand up for? And simply put, in my world, what that means is love always wins. It's a brand new day every day. And my belief, this is my belief, doesn't have to be your belief, that Jesus, a higher power, is always with you, within you, and around you 24/7.
Yes.
Those
Amen.
are my messages.
Uh-huh.
My messages. So I'm gonna turn that question back around to you. But before I do that, I so appreciate your guts and your what do I want to call it? It's your rage, Elizabeth. You get so fired up because you care so deeply. And when you care so deeply, that moves you to action.
Yes.
And that's what you are so good at doing, personally, professionally. You take that rage and you turn it into something else. And I look at all the people you have helped write books, and almost all those books are from phenomenal people with stories that are bold and bright and could be called a protest, could be called an activist or whatever. So I think that's phenomenal. So I'm going to throw it back to you. What do you think?
Oh, I think you should pour your heart and soul into whatever it is that you're writing and be brutally honest with yourself. Don't hold back. Don't edit. Don't worry what people are going to think. Because the people who write from that space, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and people who've made a real positive, powerful difference in the world through their writing, did not hold back. They were not scared, they were courageous, they were confident, and they just simply wrote what they were feeling in the moment. So I'm going to write a blog post at twosisterswriting.com on these topics because they're so, this whole week of the whole papal situation, including the funeral of Pope Francis, like the outpouring of um, people around the world in that whole experience, just it's mind-blowing. It's the numbers are staggering, and so many people are following the leadership and the doctrine that this powerful person on the planet is teaching. And so we want them to influence everybody in a positive way with inclusion.
Right.
To know that we're all God's children, that God loves all of us equally, and that all the labels that people use to divide and condemn are not welcome here.
Right. Right.
Religion is
Right.
supposed to be about love and comfort and acceptance and peace. And that's why we wrote our book together, because
Yes. Yes.
that's our message, and that we each have the power as individuals to cultivate our own relationship with spirit, God, Jesus, angels, universe, whatever your beliefs are.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So I hope that the current events can wake people up to write how they feel, and also writing is an act of scripting the future and manifesting. So the more we write it, the more we can help manifest it.
Exactly. Elizabeth, can I do a timeout on what you're saying?
Of course.
I received an email from Gail or a text from Gail, and the first 5 minutes, I guess your phone was or your sound was not on. So maybe could you do a quick little review of what our topic is for people, and then we'll move right into more what we're talking about.
Of course, a quick review of.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Gail, very, very much. Oh my gosh, if it was silent, well, we got to roll with the tech here. Flex mode, as Joanie calls it. So for those of you who were listening, the first 5 minutes were silenced due to our technical glitch today. And the topic today is writing as protest. And this idea was inspired by the election of the new Pope Leo this week, the first American Pope. And Joanie and I, as co-authors of Healing Religious Hurts and Joyously Free, Stories and Tips to Live Your Truth as LGBTQ plus people, parents, and allies, We are on a mission to make sure that the world is a more accepting, loving place for everybody, especially LGBTQ plus people, people of color, people who feel that religion has condemned them for whatever reason. And so now here's this opportunity for the new Pope who's overseeing 1.6 billion Catholics around the planet, a mind-blowing number. They have in their hands the ability to make positive, powerful change. And Pope Francis was doing that in radical ways, considering the history of the church's stance, especially on gay issues. So we hope that the new Pope can carry that torch to even higher levels of acceptance, especially for women's leadership in the church. And, everybody was waiting for the white smoke to appear, which means the new pope has been selected. However, women were out protesting with pink smoke, saying, this is celebrating a female, uh, celebrating the ascension of women in the church leadership so that there can be female priests, female cardinals, and someday maybe a female pope.
Woohoo!
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So I started out the gate with anger because it just enrages me that there's a possibility of taking it backwards from Pope Francis, because there's a news article in The Guardian about things that Pope Leo had said about gay people in the past. Well, hopefully he has changed his mind and just opened his heart to see that the religious doctrine that gets passed off as condemnation toward gay people is outdated. Same with whatever rules they have about women's leadership or lack thereof. He'll see that those are outdated as well. So Joanie tempered, as she beautifully does, she softened my anger to say, okay, let's have hope. Let's write the vision of what we actually want, not just being angry or threatening or bullying. And so, Joni, there's my summary of what we're doing
Excellent,
right now.
excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
doing that.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
catch everybody up on the same page. And that's so important, because if we're really not communicating, if we're not hearing each other, which is huge in our world today, if we're really not hearing each other and can relate to that person, we block them off, we dismiss them. And that's the worst thing to do. And how else can we be more equal and inclusive if we really won't take the time to sit and listen to somebody and be with them?
Yeah.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Of
I don't know if I
course.
told you this before. Oh my gosh, it's probably been 6 months now or so. And I was walking down in Brookings Harbor where I live, and there was this man there, and I see him walking all the time on the road near my house. And so I went up to him, I said, "Hey, can I walk with you? What's your name? I always wave to you, but I don't know your name." And he goes, yeah, come walk with me. "Oh, my name is Joe. I'm Joni. Da, 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 da." I go, "Joe, you must live around here." He goes, "Yeah, I live up on so-and-so street." And I said, "Oh, do you live alone?" "No, no, I live with my wife. We've been together like 65 or 70 years." And I said, "That's fantastic." I said, "I live with my honey, Carol, down the street here too. And we were together for 40 years, but she passed away a couple years ago." And automatically he says, "I hate lesbians." And I was like drawn back. And I go, "You do?" I said, "Oh my gosh, Carol and I loved each other to pieces for 40 years. We were one and onlys for each other all that time." And I said, God makes every single one of us special, unique, and with no judgment. God made me this way. So we keep walking and walking and walking. "I hate lesbians." And he'd come out with that again. It happened 2 or 3 or 4 times. And then after some more conversation about the birds and the bees and the water and the whatever, he goes, "You're really nice." And so then it was like, "I hate lesbians. You're really nice." And so he goes, "I want to talk to my Bible group about you." I go, "Okay, what are you going to tell them?" He goes, "Well, first off, I'm going to tell them I met you. You're a lesbian." And he goes, "But I'm also going to tell them you're really nice." And so by this time, the 30-minute walk was over. And I said, "Joe, can I give you a hug?" He goes, "I would love to do that." And so here we are, and we're just hugging each other. He took off with a smile, and I took off with a smile. True story, true story.
Amazing.
Amazing. But, I guess the point is we all have our judgments, our hurts, our traumas, the ways that are just ingrained in us? And are we willing to open our mind to something else? Are we willing to open our hearts to something else? And that's hopefully, and I believe it has, Elizabeth, the books that None Better that I wrote, the 2 books you and I co-authored, and then just everything that we're doing and speaking about in this topic today. I think that's what we're making a difference, one person at a time, maybe one group at a time. And so, in fact, Joe, hi there. I know you probably don't do podcasts, but I'm thinking of you and sending good vibes to you and your wife.
Oh, that's beautiful, Joni. That's amazing. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
That's power.
It hurt. It hurt when he said that I hate lesbians. It hurt me, but at the same time, I had to realize he doesn't know any better. You can either be better or bitter, but he didn't know any better. He never really sat or talked or walked with anybody like me. And that was a big thing for him. Think about that.
So, did you ever ask him why he has this hatred?
Yes, yes. And it said because of his church.
Oh, so the church taught it. The
Yeah, the church taught him that.
hate. Nice.
Right. That's the bottom line. The church taught the hate, and he just believed that all of his life, but he never had met anybody that he was supposedly hating. Think about that, everybody. I mean, that is powerful. So you can think and reflect on that. What goes through your mind, Elizabeth?
I hope he invites you to talk to his group.
I know. I actually volunteered. I said, I would be glad to come to your Bible class with you. He goes, okay. He didn't say anything. So, but I put it out there. And I guess I'm willing to do that. You're willing to do that. And we all are willing to do that. As a writer, you can do that in your writing. And whether that's a letter, a text, an editorial, used to be on the bathroom wall, but put it somewhere else now where you can do it. Write a book about it.
Yes.
And that's what Elizabeth can help.
Yes.
Write about it. Write about it.
Yes. Thank you, Joni. I'm a book coach and I help people write their books. I have clients all across the country who are writing books. They don't know where to start. They just have this idea, which is often inspired by a news event or a personal trauma. And they decide, okay, I'm going to write the book on this topic, because when you do that, it helps other people. It gives them permission to think and feel a certain way, act a certain way, to take action. And so it's not just about you, it's about all the people that you are going to help with the book.
Exactly. And some people maybe never publish the book, but maybe they print it and give it to their family members, or they do something else with it,
Right.
which is just as valuable to them.
Yeah.
Just as valuable to them.
We have several authors whose books are not available for the public. They are simply given to friends and family as gifts.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. And I love our topic, protest, writing about it, because there's so many avenues. It's not just religion. So you can get into the politics stuff. You can get, like I said at the very beginning, you can get into the sports. Oh my gosh, the lack of women equality in sports, and it's still going on today. You look at salaries, you look at teams, you look at leagues, you look at the Olympics, you look at everything related to women's sports. It's a biggie. And a personal story on that, my Aunt Evelyn, back in the 20s and 30s, if you can remember the movie A League of Their Own with Madonna. Okay.
Yeah.
My Aunt Evelyn played for a Colorado team. And at that time, because of the war and the depression and things going on, women didn't play softball. They actually played baseball, because they had to shut the Major League Baseball team league down for those couple years. So for 2 years, the women stepped in and did baseball.
Oh, wow.
But you find solutions. You find solutions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that, Joni. And writing is a powerful solution, and it can start with a journal entry. Like, just start venting your feelings, whether it's about this topic of the new Pope and LGBTQ plus topics, but whatever the issue is, just start writing a journal entry and just keep expanding on it. You can write 5 minutes a day on the topic, maybe at your lunch break, and it'll expand, and then you feel that you have gained enough momentum to actually make it into a book. And if you need help, you can visit me at twosisterswriting.com and schedule a free discovery call over the phone or Zoom, where I can talk about how I can help you.
That's a great tip. That's two great tips there. One is to journal, and then one is to get a hold of you for a discovery call. Absolutely. And think about the people that may have a newsletter or another online kind of communication that people can write. You have a lot of power in that. Every time you write an email, you have a lot of power in that email.
Mhm.
How do you address the person? How do you end the conversation with the person?
Right. Right. And you can do a
Yeah.
blog. You can start a blog too. A lot of people start a blog or a podcast and then take transcriptions of everything and compile it as a book.
Fabulous.
Mhm.
Fabulous. Have you had an author do that?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Who would that be?
Um,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I know you've only had a few, like 60.
yeah. I don't want to say their name,
Okay,
but
okay, okay.
yeah,
But it's
no,
possible and
it
it's
is.
doable.
It
So
is.
if you're watching this right now, that might be something you want to think about.
Right.
I know
Right.
people have had their journals before
Right.
and they go through their journals and then they give the journal and you ghostwrite and you do whatever you do
Yep.
with them to help them with that. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, Joni.
You bet.
Yeah. So everybody out there, writing as protest, whatever it is that's on your heart, your mind, your soul right now, start writing the vision for what you'd rather see than what's going on. Start writing that. Writing is the first physical manifestation of an idea. And then when you share that physical manifestation in your writing with others, they can take action. They can feel inspired by the blueprint that you're laying out for change.
Oh, well said. Well said.
Thanks.
I think you should repeat that about 10 times like a mantra.
Okay. Well, writing
Yeah.
is power, and you can write the change that you wish to see in the world. Gandhi said, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Well, write the change that you wish to see, and then you provide other people with a roadmap on how they can be the change, and together we can all make a giant change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, fantastic. But and I also know writers that do the opposite. They don't write about the change. They don't write about the hope. All they do is write about the crap and the hate or the this or the that, And it's like you got to get that out of your system, but then you got to move on to that hope part.
Uh-huh.
And hopefully this is the book that can also help people to do that.
Yes. Healing religious
Yeah.
hurts. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Joanie, thank you for another amazing podcast here on Friday afternoon, morning for you in California, San Diego specifically, right?
Yep. I got a picture of the Coronado Hotel right behind me here. I'm at
Oh,
Lonnie and Melissa's house today, so they were so gracious. We had a nice biggie book event yesterday, and I get to go see my sister Gail today. I'm so excited.
beautiful.
She and I are the best of friends.
Yeah.
And everybody has a sister like that you can just be the best of friends with. I have two of them, so I'm pretty doubly blessed.
Well, I have two sisters writing and publishing. I'm extremely
Hi,
grateful.
Catherine.
So grateful for my sister here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, Joanie. So
Yes.
I hope you have an amazing time in San Diego, and that I hope people, if you're watching, listening, please share this with anybody that it can help. And we immensely appreciate you tuning in every Friday here on the Two Sisters Writing and Publishing channel or podcast platforms, where you can hear everything you need to know to write, publish, and promote a great book. You can reach Joanie Lindenmeyer on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and you can reach me at twosisterswriting.com. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins. I would love to help you write and publish your book and use writing as protest. We will. Thanks, Joanie, and we will see all of you next week. We wish you happy reading and happy writing.
Got it. Bye.